trying to be the man. You want to be center front, right? Don't worry about me and Patty. You just come right out on that one.
I think I have fat thumbs.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing tonight? Patty, thank you for coming back. We told everybody last time you're here, we were going to make this a regular, and here we are. We didn't lie to them.
No, that might be a first. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I didn't say that, Doc. I didn't say that.
No, so glad that you're back. Really appreciate it. We're gonna run the spectrum tonight. We're gonna talk about multiple things.
Love it.
Very exciting, and I love when you come back because you bring not only you and who you are and all that, but you bring a lot of expertise in the field and a lot of great advice. And so I truly appreciate it. So thanks for coming back and thanks for being on. How have you been?
I'm awesome. Thanks. It's good. Good times. I'm just somebody scheduled an appointment with me today for April, and I was having a heart attack. It's like, how did we get to March? And now we're talking April. Like, what? Didn't we just celebrate New Year's? So it's going quickly, I think.
It does. It always does. It goes fast. And I'm glad because it's getting warm. We don't have the beautiful Florida weather up here. And
we don't have it here either, by the way. Yeah. So if you feel better, we don't have it either.
Well, I like the warm weather. So it's kind of nice up here. Flowers are starting to bloom. I love spring, so it's a good thing. I don't like the cold. We talk about that. We can actually get into that. The cold weather, the darkness.
Yeah, the SAD, seasonal affective disorder. We can add that onto the bottom of your list.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of the cold, I went camping this past weekend, and I went through all 4 seasons in 2 days.
Ah,
isn't that crazy? Yeah,
crazy.
All right. Well, let's jump in and let's talk about this new training that you just went through.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting. So I'll let you introduce it. And I know we're gonna have a lot of questions for you and a lot of comments that we want to go through and talk about.
Yep. Please, everybody. Thanks. It's great to be here. But definitely, if you have questions as I'm kind of talking about this, ask them in the chat. We'll get them back out, and I'm happy to answer them if I can. So recently, it's come to my awareness that there is a new healing method for trauma out there called the Cortina Method. And as I hear rumblings about it, and I hear some of my colleagues being excited, one of my colleagues actually went and got the certification, and she stopped by the office and said, "You have to see this. It's crazy that we can heal trauma within a short amount of time." Like, I'm talking a window of 2 hours, which I think any of us in the field go, trauma, 2 hours, really? So I investigated it, looked it up and put my name on a list of, I'm interested. On a Friday night at about 10 to 5, somebody phoned and he said, "Is this Patty Mohler?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, I'm Michael Cortina."
Wow.
And I was like, "The Michael Cortina?" It's like, and I thought my friend was pranking me. If we're really going to be honest, I thought my friend was pranking me. And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "You're really actually one of the practitioners that I'm really trying to get interested in this because of your work in trauma and the things that I do. Can I jump on and do a Zoom call and show you all the information?" By all means. And so by the end of the hour, he talked to me on a Friday night at 5:00. I was all in and signed up and ready to go. And so I think 3 weeks ago now, I spent 5 days down in Sarasota, Florida, and getting the certification. And I went in as a skeptic. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of went in thinking, how real is this going to be? What's this going to be like? And I'm telling you, it is probably one of the most exciting things I've seen in the trauma world in years. And we have a lot of different things out there. I'm certified in several of them. I probably will never use them again.
Wow.
Because I am just so convinced this is the way to go. And, one of his really top quotes is optimize your brain and optimize your life.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, right?
Yeah.
And for anybody that knows, trauma gets caught. We have our conscious brain and our subconscious brain. And our conscious brain goes in and out of offline, online. We remember things. If I were to tell you how I got to work today, I can guarantee you I was offline. You know, I know where to turn. My car knows where to turn. We're good. But as far as being in the moment, seeing every car, seeing absolutely everything around me, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah.
But the beauty thing is that the subconscious is online since the day we were conceived. It's just straight there and it's online and being recording. I like to tell my clients it's kind of like having all of our apps on our phone running in the background.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're wide open. And so every now and then we have to pick up our phones and we have to do, 30 seconds of making sure everybody's kind of closed down, make your phone work a little bit better. Well, this is able to go get some of those unconscious thoughts, those neuro bits, as we call them, bring them back into the light and reprocess them in a really gentle, uplifting, almost fun way.
Yeah.
I don't know about any of you, but I have never heard the words fun, gentle, and uplifting when we talk about trauma.
That's true. That is very true.
Just haven't. We don't have to tell the subconscious what to do. None of us, you, me, the people watching, Doc, we're not sitting there going, breathe, breathe, breathe. It's happening. We're not sitting here, go, blink your eyes, blink, blink. I have a cut on my hand. Actually, I have a burn. I burned myself yesterday.
That's not good.
But I'm not sitting there going, oh, send red blood platelets and send white ones and now scars, get better. I don't have to do any of that, right? That's our subconscious. The conscious, on the other hand, has to be able to do one thing at a time. And for everybody out there and listening, I know we think we can multitask.
Yeah.
Queen of it. Queen, queen, queen. The older I get, the wiser I get, I hope. And that, I believe, is true. We can't. Our brains love to do one thing at a time. If we're really going to be mindful and be focused, we really like to do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
The subconscious could care less. The subconscious would do 95 things at once. We're not sitting there talking to organs and blood vessels and cells and all that kind of stuff. This method really goes down and reaches into the subconscious and is able to clear traumatic events. And trauma, as most of you all know, that one of the things is that we can have flashbacks, we can have anxiety, maybe we don't sleep well, maybe we have bad nightmares. So one of those things is that we can go in with this method, be able to bring back some of these traumatic memories, neurobits, be able to clear them. And so just like your phone, when you cleared it off, the brain is able to do through this method and many of the others. I'm not disqualifying any of the others.
Yeah.
But it can go through and put all those bad things into a really separate database and store it away. And one of the beautiful things is when your mind goes back to look at those memories, guess what? No action will be needed.
Yeah.
It retrains the brain to know that there is no action needed for that traumatic memory at all. And I found this so exciting. And the things that we saw and witnessed and were able to participate in, the healing that happened was absolutely incredible. Yeah. And the success rate of this right now is right above 90%.
Okay, that's good.
That's astounding. And I think one of the things that he's doing is that this is a strategic protocol rooted in neuroscience. And so there is all the data that backs this up. There is the white paper. There is all the testing. Shoot, I've got this out. You probably can't see it, but we got brain mapping, that he's already done. It's on his website. So you can go see the trauma and how the brain's lit up prior to, and then you can see it afterwards and see that it is definitely cleared up.
Wow.
This is probably one of the most efficient and effective ways I've seen of having an outcome for trauma.
Wow.
The other thing that it's really fabulous is limiting beliefs. With trauma, oftentimes we get limiting beliefs. If there's been a traumatic childhood, maybe somebody grows up to believe I'm not lovable. Maybe it's I'm not good enough. Maybe it's I'm not a good enough athlete. I'm not smart enough. We can also use the Cortina method to be able to go in and help make sure that those are now gone, replaced with healthy, good thoughts, right? The subconscious does not know negation. If I were to say to you and Doc, hey, do me a favor and don't think of a pink elephant.
I just thought of a pink elephant. Doc's
And so,
riding a pink elephant right now.
and what do we normally want to do and say to ourselves? I don't want to be in a bad relationship. I don't want to be good enough. I don't want to be in a relationship where somebody's abusing me. I don't. And that's all negation. So when we go back through and really help the subconscious understand that it doesn't deal with negation and we only put positive thoughts, I'm enough as I am. I believe in myself. I'm a good free thrower. Let's try to say that.
Free throw shooter.
That was
You
not
can
going to
do
come
it.
out of my mouth.
Free throw.
And I just think that this is so exciting. And let me tell you, the process, one of the reasons I love it, it's all the things that I actually love, love, love. It's, first of all, it's talking, which is good. But actually, the practitioner is the one who does most of the talking. It's experiential, which I love. Clients get to move. It's movement. We use a lot of movement in this. And as you know, as I've always said, as a trauma therapist, number one way to treat trauma, yoga.
Yeah.
I've always said that. Bessel van der
right.
Kolk still says, no matter what trauma, go to yoga. So it uses some yoga practices. It uses different movement. It uses voice in a different way to be able to release tension. There are definitely neuroscience-backed protocols that we can use to get into the subconscious and get it to reprocess some of these traumas. And there's also calming techniques, so the client gets to walk away with calming techniques. I will be able to tell you that I probably have done this in 5 to 6 visitors. We call them visitors in this protocol because we're simply doing a protocol. The one thing that I think I want to stress that everybody I want to hear is the person does not have to relive the trauma.
Yeah, that's key.
Oh
because
my
that's
God.
where everybody struggles, is reliving the trauma.
This, I have seen so many things, and now I've done it. Like I said, I'm relatively new. Not relatively, I am new at this, but I have done it. And it's mind-boggling that we'll talk about, hey, so tell me about that event. Tell me about, now we have a general idea because we do a discovery call with the visitor. So we generally know what we're going after, but they don't have to tell us every detail. Example is I have a young man that has been with me for quite some time. We've been doing a protocol. We've been doing it almost 9.5 months. When I learned about this protocol, I asked if he was willing to suspend that particular modality. Let me go check this out and see whether we could work on this trauma, because we're right at the end, but it's the most traumatic piece. And up to this point, we've had to go through every single bit to be able to reprocess it. I'm not saying it didn't work. I'm just saying it's been a very long process, because as you get them right into the trauma, they don't want to go there, and it's harmful to keep them reliving this trauma. So we will suspend the modality for that day. And so I definitely went down there and came back pretty excited. I called this young man. The trauma happened 7 years ago. And so this person's been living with this for quite some time. Can't deal with anything with the heart, can't touch the heart, can't deal. I'm not going to, tell what the trauma was, but all the other things around his life make it very unfunctional, right?
Yeah.
You can't see any of those things. So he came in and we did it. We did the process. It took 1 hour and 45 minutes. And I asked him to go back. We were laughing. We were joking. He was kind of smiling. And even at the end, he looked at me and he said, you know what, Patty, I know you did this for me, which is partly true. I did it for
Yeah.
everybody else, but he knew that. And he said, you just changed my life. And he said, I'm going to go call my sisters because they have trauma around this event as well. And I think they'll be able to benefit from this. And I said, so when we do outcome checks. So I asked him to go, check on some things that we had worked on. And he went back and he said, it's just something. And I said, okay, so no energy around it? No. I said, okay, there's a lot of things we didn't do today. Go back and look at some of those around that day. He looked and he said, I just ran a movie in my head about the whole day. It's nothing. It's just something that happened.
Wow.
And I said, picture yourself, close your eyes, picture yourself walking into a Walmart or a Walgreens and selecting a Valentine's Day card. He closed his eyes and he said, I actually think I could do that. I go, okay. And I knew this was the big one. I said, funs and giggles here. Can you put your hand on your heart? And he didn't blink, and he put his hand on his heart and he had tears in his eyes. He said, I haven't done that in 7 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And, I'll definitely follow up. Obviously, there's always a checkup and following back in. That was the one I was after. That was the big one, to see whether that was going to be helpful, right? But to see that kind of change in a short amount of time. I'll give you another one. This happened 2 days after I returned home. So talk about being brand new and just giving this a whirl. Somebody I know, fairly close to, but they've in November fell out of their ceiling, putting a Christmas tree up in the attic, misstepped, went through, took the light down. Don't ask any of us, and especially this person, how they are even alive, right? Because they fell 9 feet onto a concrete floor in your garage. And they didn't have any broken bones, nothing. They did have 8 stitches in the back of their head, but no brain bleed, nothing traumatic, right? So as I talked to her through the months and just, how are you doing? It would be, I still have nightmares. I'm having flashbacks. I'm never getting on a ladder again. And I called her when I got back. I said, how you doing? She gave me the same story. And I said, any chance you'll meet me at the office to try this? And she was like, sure. So she came down to the office, and I think we worked an hour and 50 minutes. So that one is a little bit longer. And she was convinced at the end that she was fine and that she felt good about it. And I happened to be over at her house last weekend, and for whatever reason, we came out through the garage, right? And I was like, oh, am I going to do this? Am I going to ask, right? And so she said, hey, come back here for a second. I was almost at my car. And she goes, look, and she started telling me, yeah, that's where the hole was patched. That's where the light came down. And I went, I'm going to ask, what's it like to tell me that story? And she goes, oh, it's just a story. It's what happened to me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And I looked around, I saw the ladder, and I said, what about going and getting that? I've gone and gotten it since you helped. And I said, so you are not she said, I have not had one nightmare. I have had not one flashback. She said, I will occasionally think about, oh my gosh, some what ifs, but not in the way that her brain had taken over before, where it was just constant rolling. What if this, what if this, what if this, what if this? She said, I don't have that. She said, occasionally I think, oh, what have I gotten hurt? And then she goes, oh, okay, well, whatever.
Wow.
I mean, Matt, the things I've seen like I said, I've done it now 5 times, and my resolve rate right now is 100%.
Wow. So why is that? Why do you think?
The neuroscience behind it goes, same with all these other methodologies that we have. We have ART, we have EMDR, we have brain spotting. Shoot, I'm blanking. If anybody out there wants to throw one out there, that's fine. But we do have methodologies that work. We know they work. We know that we can get in touch with the subconscious, and we can get it to reprocess through many different modalities. But this one I've never seen combine movement, neurolinguistics, talk therapy, calming methods, all in one thing, and not to have to go through the trauma.
Yeah, that's the key. I think
Not
that's the
one
key.
time.
Yeah.
I mean, with EMDR, you pretty much, let's take a rape victim, right? They pretty much almost have to relive that in order to reprocess it. It does work. It does get reprocessed. We've come so far in trauma. We know that. Shoot, now we're doing ketamine therapy. We know these things work. But I've never ever experienced anything where the client or the visitor in this, have to retrain myself, that they don't have to relive it.
Yeah.
Now, Michael Cortina's work is truly with vets and the post-traumatic stress. So Michael and his group of practitioners have been going around the country to these vet retreats, as you guys know you have, and working with the vets to relieve their PTS. And some of their comments, I was reading their comments today. Here's some of their comments. Navy SEAL, that trauma's been resolved. Veteran reports, I feel great and no longer bothered by the PTSD. Another one, Air Force veteran, special ops guy, report indicates his brain has resumed connectivity and returned back to normal functioning. Veteran reports, the experience was awesome and I was struck by how calm I was when I asked to recall the trauma. I even remained calm when I had more clarity of the details without any emotional component.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better.
No, it definitely doesn't, because that's where, Doc would agree with this, right, Doc? This is where we struggle. We struggle with the thought process. We struggle with going through it. Again, everybody knows my story with Clark. I mean, I can start thinking about Clark and really, when I
Yeah.
really stop to think about it, it comes up. For me, I get emotional and, I think about losing them and I think about the moment, and all that, just the whole thing. That tends to overwhelm us. And, yeah, so I could see if you could stop going back and reframe it, that it would help.
And Matt, for somebody like you or Doc or anybody out there, this also can be done by Zoom. I was a little surprised at that. And so, if that's still an ongoing issue, I'll talk.
Yeah.
I got a great method for you. I think it'll work. But that's why I think this is just, I don't think, as my son said, I talked to him like 2 days after I got home. And he even said to me, Mom, I haven't heard you this excited about anything in your field in several years. Like, I've never heard you this jacked up. And I'm excited for the trauma world. For me personally, too, though, I want it in the wellness world.
Yeah.
I want to go to the wellness retreats, because why do we go to retreats? To feel better. So is it some limiting belief that we still have? Is it a trauma that we're still holding on to? Are you going to yoga retreat so that you can get rid of the trauma? Well, I want to become a part of that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And spend a couple hours with me in your day. Continue to work with, the trauma, and doing the yoga afterwards or before.
Yeah.
I also think athletes. I think of all the athletes that, I can't shoot a free throw. I can't shoot a 3-pointer. I'm not fast enough. I'll never be good enough to make the first string. Those are limiting beliefs. People that I know in business that go, I could never make that much money.
Yeah.
I don't deserve a good, healthy relationship. Oh my gosh, that is part of that wellness. Again, optimize your brain, optimize your life. I love that, because that's what this is about.
Well, we keep talking about it, and that's why we call it the mental wellness community. And that is the thought process, is forward focused. Can we stop living in the past? Can we stop living in you and I have talked a lot about this, is, to me, and it's just personal to me, but I do not like mental health. I think I look at my kids and I think they get beat up with mental health until the point that they think there's something wrong with them. They really do. And, they're constantly getting beat down. I know we'll talk about some COVID stuff, post-COVID stuff, but they get beat down with this. And then they truly, it's in their thought process, and they can't
Absolutely.
get past it. And, so this is, reframing. We need to do.
It's a little bit more. It's not necessarily reframing. I want to change that up a little bit. It's truly taking the activity and the energy away from the memory. None of us, until, maybe years after I'm gone, can we erase memory. This doesn't erase memory. This erases the energy around it, right?
Mm.
This erases that. When you look at it, again, when you go back to look at a traumatic memory, it's no action needed. And there's nothing I need to do about that which happened to me before. So it's not really reframing it. It's still, okay, well, that happened to me. That's totally different for me in my looking at reframing. It's taking one thing and turning it into another. I think of that as reframing. And maybe you and I are talking about the same thing, but that's how I think about it. Whereas this, it just doesn't have the energy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And when I saw, there was one woman, and I won't again reveal her trauma, but she had lived with it for 50 years. She came and she was, I would say she looked 70-ish, right? But she was talking about with Michael Cortina and going through this process about trauma she had had in her early 20s with a very, 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 I'll throw one more in there, very abusive ex-husband. And she had lived through this, and to watch this happen and watch her kind of giggling and going, oh my gosh, like what's going on? Like, this is what, and giggling, and to know she's been through that much trauma. And again, I think of course she didn't really seek help. Who wants to talk about that?
Absolutely.
Who wants to go through that? And again, for me, I had several clients that I said, please postpone, because I feel it's going to be so traumatic for them to have to go through this that I haven't wanted to do it. But now I feel so secure at moving forward with these clients and being able to say, hey, you can come and we don't have to talk about it. And I'm lucky for these cases that I know what the cases are. I really don't have to talk about it. But I've done people who've just called me up. The beautiful thing for anybody who's out there, therapist out there, it's not that I'm going to get your client, right? Your client's going to come see me for a 2-hour visit. We're going to resolve a trauma or a limiting belief, and they get to go back to their therapist. I have so many people that come to me and are just like, but I don't want to leave my therapist. Great. I don't want you to leave your therapist.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's pretty exciting because I know so many people that I've talked to that have left their therapist doing other things, and they're just like, it'll wipe out their rest of their day or a
Yeah.
couple of days because they've been living in the trauma. They've been going back through and, to move past it, and they do end up getting past it. But it's like you said, that taking people back to that time, and day and that hour or whatever the trauma might be, whatever, it could be long-term trauma, it could be short-term trauma, but
Correct.
it can be devastating
Yes.
to people. It can really almost put them into a spiral in a way.
Well, and a good therapist obviously won't let somebody leave their office in that way, but that doesn't mean that they haven't had to go through that. And I think just to even think of never having to do that again for a visitor when I have them, but a client. I've not seen anything like this. I saw
Wow.
things over those 5 days that I would have told you there's no way that can be resolved. But again, when we are able to safely, with protocols in place that take somebody into the deep subconscious and be able to release that information and bring it to the forefront, let the brain do its thing and put it in a new data file. What a beautiful, beautiful thing. I have not, for those of you that have been out there, I have not been this excited at all about anything in the trauma world in a long time. And if you think about it, if we all think about it, I'll just mention this one, but all of them, when EMDR came out, nobody was on board with the EMDR. And here's how EMDR started. It was by Dr. Shapiro. And she took a walk in the park, and she realized that her eyes were darting left and right. And she sat down in a park bench. And she thought, that's weird. I was thinking of really not great things that have been happening and have happened in my life, and I don't feel as emotional about them. That's really weird. And that started her whole way into investigating how EMDR works with the rapid eye movement, what we do in our sleep, REM sleep. That's what REM sleep is for. And so this takes part of that. The Cortina method uses a little bit of that, but it also finds different protocols, different ways to get into that subconscious to be able to reprocess. So that piece is what I absolutely love about this method, is all of the things that, like I said, that I absolutely love, kind of in one nice little.
That's really cool. So we put the website out on the social media. Yeah. So everybody go check that out.
Check out the testimonials. You'll just, almost every testimonial that's on there is something I witnessed actually happening, either done by Zoom or whatever. So it's absolutely will take your breath away.
That's really cool. I think what we need to do is, we have Dr. Mel that does yoga, and we're trying to grow up this yoga community. Lainey's getting her yoga certification. I think we need to go back and start exploring. You were going to do it a couple of years ago with your retreat, but we ought to look at exploring and putting together, something.
Package, yeah.
That would be really, really cool. I think it could help a lot of people, and a lot of people need it. That's exciting. I think I'm excited about it. I want to learn more about it because I know a lot of my veteran friends could use it. Not just that, everybody across the board.
And Matt, you should go get certified. I mean, you would have, this will take you in another whole dimension. Again, vets have not been my niche. You kind of get locked down into something, and I've more been in the trauma world, the domestic violence. Oh my gosh, I've already talked to the domestic violence shelter here to be able to go down and help these women. I mean, mind exploding.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting. I find it very, very interesting. I think, Doc knows this. We've had the conversation. A lot of veterans live in their trauma, and we cannot get past our trauma, and we live in that victim world. That's why it's so important that we come up with things that can help people. Doc, I mean, Wounded Warrior Empire Academy, the stuff that goes on there. I mean, all these different places and things. I'm working with Heroes to Heroes, taking people to Israel, and it's all about trauma. That's where we're at. We're talking about the trauma, and how can we help? How can we get our fellow vets and friends past that?
And so imagine me, which I'll do, and I will, is connecting you with Michael Cortina, and he can come into Wounded Warrior, bring a bunch of the practitioners there. I think that's what they're doing with the retreats. I think it's just, again, I just see so much value in this, and thought about you and Doc and a lot of other people the whole time I was down there, my domestic violence people. I mean, it's just crazy. I'm just so excited about this and appreciate the opportunity for you to let me come on and talk about it. It's new. It's only 2 years old. He was tired of talk therapy. He knew many of the other different modalities that were out there, but he's passionate, he's creative, and to come up with this is just, it's going to take the world by storm. We just have to get the word out there. That's
really cool. Tom Dorney's watching, and he's talking about Project New Hope, nonprofit veterans for organization retreat. There's really pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff that can be connected and done with. I mean, again, we're connected to a lot of veterans groups, but this is encouraging.
Can I ask Tom a question?
Sure.
Tom, I see that you were at the retreat. Was Michael Cortina there? I don't know if he's hearing me.
Yeah, he'll probably respond. I think he's still watching. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Where's he located?
He's in Illinois. I took the training in, got to talk about this. I took the training down in Sarasota, but Matt, get this. He's got a new protocol. I'm going for another 5 days for an advanced training up in Indiana. And this one is on addiction.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going for addiction and eating disorders.
Very cool. Yeah.
So, I mean, can you imagine sitting down with some of the people, that Matt knows, Doc knows, if somebody just has disordered drinking, right? And I'm not talking always, I have to go. Oh, look, yes, I did 2 Zoom meetings with him to collaborate.
That's very cool. Go, Tom.
Go, Tom. That's phenomenal.
Whoop,
I
whoop.
love it. Whoop, whoop
Good,
to
good.
Tom. And Michael Cortina. So I'll send this to Michael, but seriously, I'm going back for the one on addictions and doing another advanced round in April. So I'll be doing that in April. Doing a 3-hour class with him on Thursday night on pain management.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So the protocols that he's coming up with, I just think are endless, and it's just it's going to be exciting to watch and see how we can utilize this and get the word out.
Yeah. Very cool.
Thank you, Tom, for tagging him. I'll send this to him. I knew he had some things going on, but thank you.
Yeah. Very cool. No, I'm excited about this. I'm going to explore it more. We're going to talk more about this because, again, I think it's something that I'm interested in. I love the idea. I find it interesting, Patty, like some people, they just fall backwards, and when I say fall backwards, we think past, we live in our trauma, and some people are able to move past it, and so I think about that all the time. Like, well, what makes some people have the ability to move past it, and some people live in their trauma.
I think that's a neuroscience question, right? And some people are able to, and we have resilience, and some people do fly right through it and don't seem to get stuck in it. And there are others, you take a leaf that lands on top of a river and maybe it just floats down, but then a twig is right next to it, but it gets stuck in the whirlpool, and you go, well, they were side by side. Why did the leaf go that way, is free and floating, and why is the twig stuck? Some people's brains, I think, just what's the word I'm looking for? Take in the trauma differently and process it differently themselves. And I think some people, it just doesn't land as hard. And I think all of it has to do, what's our neurochemistry?
Yeah.
What's our background as far as trauma? Are we more resilient for different reasons? I think there's a ton of reasons that no two people handle a goldfish dying. For some, it's like, yeah, whatever, a goldfish died. For somebody, that's a real traumatic event. And we go, why do they not care? And
yeah, that's right.
It all has different meanings.
Yeah, for sure. Well, very exciting. I'm going to look it up and talk to you more about it. Definitely. I'm going to jump into this because I think it's cool. I think it's cool. Doc, you got something? You've been quiet.
I have a dad joke answer to your question about the twig and the leaf. If you want to hear it.
Oh, Doc, I'm always up for one of your jokes. That's when I can bring my cup up here, as long as it's down. So I'm prepared.
It's a dad joke. The answer's obvious. The leaf said, "Leave me alone," and just. Oh. There we go.
That was good.
Ready?
I'll go back to being quiet.
That was good. I was impressed.
That was good.
You're able to talk tonight, Doc, if you want.
I'm fascinated by the topic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take it in.
Yeah. Well, it's again something you and I talk about a lot. It really is. And again, not trying to be that way just about veterans, but it's something that we claim it. We claim,
right.
trauma like it's our own, and it's not. It's everybody's. Unfortunately,
sure.
Everybody deals with trauma, but a lot of our veterans friends, we live it. They definitely live and hold on to their trauma. It'd be nice to see them get past it.
I'm excited about the pain aspect too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that too. Yeah, so I'll let you guys know what that's like. I'm looking at Tom's and trauma being passed down, and yes, I do think we know now about generational trauma and that it does get passed down, and it is in our DNA. That was another one of those things when I first heard that as a new therapist, I rolled my eyes like, oh my God, do I have to pay for everybody's stuff, right? But man, even in my own genealogy, I can go back and look at the traumas and see the generational stuff. And we all are like, we have to step up and try to end this, right? And so this is another one of those things that I'm really excited about, because I think it can start to end the generational trauma if we can stop it at its core. And that's all what the Cortina Method is going back and finding the core. You know, talk therapy can be simply right here and kind of stay on the surface. The Cortina Method is going to go after the core. And once we go after the core, then you're relieved of the energy around it, and it's resolved. It's gone. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. So cool. All right, we want to talk about a couple of other topics tonight. I said something in a podcast, and I got lectured on it.
I don't know about lecture.
Not a lecture. That was the joke. It was not a lecture, but it is very true. It is so true.
I agree. It was not a lecture. It was a straight up ass chewing.
I didn't do that to those of you that are out there. I kind of said, "Can we talk about something?"
And I popped to the position of attention and was standing there like we're ready to no, but it is very true. It is so true. And let me back up. One thing that I'm very excited about is that the stuff on, with the Cortina Method on alcohol, because that is something that has been in my family and that we've talked about before. And I think it's important, if there was breakthroughs, I wish I'd had them sooner, for people.
Absolutely.
Really, really, truly do. So I'm excited to hear more about that. But one of the comments that I made when I was interviewing last couple of weeks, we talked about functional alcoholics.
Yeah. It's my pet peeve.
I know. That's why I was standing at a position of attention, getting chewed out.
I think we call it functional alcoholism so that we can feel better about either the person that we're talking about, or they can feel better about it. But it is one of those things that takes people out. And I just think of there are many phrases that I just kind of cringe at, that this is the most cringeable one for me. I always look at all 5 areas: mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and relationship, right? If you're a functioning alcoholic, you're not going to tell me you're functioning in all 5 of these areas. Yeah, you might go to work and you might be really super good at crossing your T's and dotting your I's. But I bet I look at any alcoholic and say, when's the last time you made love to your husband and or wife, whichever I'm talking to? And I'll usually get, probably been months or maybe a year. What's your relationship with, like, your kids? Oh God, they haven't talked to me in 18 months. Nobody's even speaking to me. You're not functioning.
Yeah, that's right.
How's your bank account? Oh, well, quit spending so much money on the booze. I probably would have money. And man, do I get in trouble when I spend my check on Friday nights on my drug or alcohol. I spend my paycheck before I get home, and we kind of need it for the rent. You're not functioning.
Okay, the anticipation's killing me. What do you call it?
Alcoholism. Addiction.
That was anticlimactic.
That was, but that's what it is. And I think that's what
I'm out of here.
Yeah, he's out. I think that's what people do to protect people, because they don't like being called straight up, I'm an alcoholic, or I have disordered drinking. I think that is something we do to protect people. And I think the people that say, I am a functioning, protect themselves. And I think as long as we keep doing that, we are going to keep passing down from generation to generation. Well, I function here and I function here. Well, you got to function in all 5 areas, folks.
Yeah, that's very true.
So to me, it's just not a good term, and we just use it. Hey, I'm married, but he's a really good functioning alcoholic. What?
We should almost call it dysfunctional.
Well, that would be better. I would not cringe at that one.
Yeah.
Maybe, and maybe Doc, I'm with you on that. Maybe if somebody said, I'm a really good dysfunctional alcoholic, I would be like, okay, how can I help?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jody. Alcoholism is alcoholism. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
I had a chief that I worked for many, many, many years ago. when I was a young E4. And back in the day, we used to have cough syrup called turpin hydrate. Um, and these hardcore alcoholics, like this chief I worked for, would keep it in their desk, and
Yeah,
they'd put it in their coffee. They drink it
drink it.
straight out of the bottle. And there were many times that I had to go. I would get a call from some bar in town, and I'd go pick him up, and I would literally throw him over my shoulder, carry him out. Midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. He's right out there at 5 a.m. ready for PT the next day, and I'm the one dragging because I had to go get his butt in the middle of the
He was
night.
functioning.
He was very dysfunctioning.
When I was working at the rehab center, there was one of those mega bottles of hand sanitizer, and everybody coming in and, and then I walked in one morning, and it was always at the nurse's station, and I was like, I was just here at 7 o'clock last night. It's 7 a.m. We couldn't have used that much hand sanitizer in 12 hours. And the nurse just was like, no, but they're drinking it. I go,
my gosh.
what? And they were drinking the residents, the patients were drinking the hand sanitizer for the alcohol. And one of the nurses had measured one of the patient's blood alcohol level, and it was so high, and she couldn't figure it out. He was drinking the hand sanitizer. I mean, the lengths that people will go to, it's crazy. It's in toothpaste. You have to watch that. It is in mouthwash. That's a huge one for my
That's a huge one.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And no, you really shouldn't cook with it, by the way, now since we're on this topic. Yes, the flavor cooks off, but for anybody who is an alcoholic, they still have it. There's a residue. It is still not a good thing. They need to ask. I won't let any of my clients cook with it. I don't care what they want to flambe.
Can you do that again, please?
Yeah, do that again one more time.
Yes, okay. I feel much better now.
Yeah, thank you. That was good.
I could
No,
give
you're
it
right.
noises too.
Oh, hey, that's
Hey,
fantastic.
So you're
multitask.
right. I do want to say you're right. That's not a good term because you're right. I can think of somebody that I used to call a functioning alcoholic, and their life was a freaking disaster.
Look at Tom. Yeah, and I loved it. I will call him dysfunctional doc. I'm going to pick up on that. And if somebody comes in and says I'm a functioning, I'm going to say, oh, let's change wording. I like it to get down to the alcoholism, but I'm gonna jump on that, doc. I think you created something really cool and neat right there.
Good job, Doc.
My friend, my gift for you.
Hi, Michael Cortina. You just missed my whole spiel about you.
Well, you can talk about
cool.
some more. Hey, Michael, how are you?
I don't know where you are or how we should get you to jump on here. But Mike, I did a whole 45 minutes on the Cortina method.
Actually, I got a great idea. You are a regular guest. You're part of this. So we can come back and revisit and have Michael on
Love
the
it.
next one and
That'd be
do a
great.
podcast on it. Absolutely. That'd be
I'm blown away by this gentleman. He came up with this whole method. I can't even think of what I'm going to eat for dinner most nights.
awesome.
Golly, that's impressive.
That is impressive. That's really cool. Very impressed with you. Michael, if you're watching, you're talking to two, Patty, but you're talking to two veterans here. I do have a degree in counseling. Doc is former Army medic, Navy medic.
How dare you,
No, that
sir?
was, as I
Right?
discussed you,
How long have you
Navy
two known
medic
each
and
other?
Navy nurse. So we talk to veterans all the time. We work with veterans all the time. And so very interested in what you're doing and learning more about it. Very excited about that, which is great.
And Michael, I promise I'll send you the podcast so you can make sure you can check my work.
Patty, I need an appointment. I'm crushed. My soul is devastated.
Look at Michael Cortina saying hello. Hello,
Hello,
Michael
sir.
Cortina.
Yeah.
This is
That is-
awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah, we'd love to have you on. That would be great. Come on with Patty and we'll talk more and maybe we can meet another time as well. I'm excited about what you're doing for sure. So
And thank you, Tom, for kind of pointing it out that he was here. Love it.
yeah. We had one other topic we did want to talk about, and I don't want to not get to this topic because it was great. I sent you a video. So one of the topics that me and Patty and that we talk about all the time is we talk about these phones and we talk about communication and, social media and all the stuff that our kids live through. And so I sent you a video a couple of weeks ago, and I'll let you talk about it. But it is really, really cool. The video is great. And it was of a gentleman talking about the difference between texting and the
Yeah.
difference between verbal communication between mother and between daughter.
Right? Or mothers and children too. I
Oh,
don't know.
mothers and children. Yeah, we
Yeah, I
don't
think it was
just
mothers and
exclude.
children. I don't think we were gender specific. I thought it was, you sent it to me and it was just because you're like, oh my gosh, we talk about this all the time. And Matt and I started talking about this a little too late to let Dot be able to pull it up. We should have been a little smoother about this, but that's okay. But the test basically is they ran the comparison. If a mother and a child sent text messages, it raised the cortisol levels, the stress levels.
Mm-hmm.
When a child and the mother actually spoke on the phone, it raised the oxytocin level to bring us back down, the happy, the joyous one, the hormone that we want released. If we don't start paying attention to that voices will calm us down. It's always the best way for me to come in and talk about the brain, right? When people use thumbs and send them those little text messages, they go into the left side of the brain, right? Those symbols go into our left side of the brain. That's our logical side of the brain. But then it shifts over to our emotional side. I can't tell you how many clients will come in and go, I've got this text. Will you read it? And I'll go, okay. And they'll read it. I'm going to the beach on Friday night and I'll be there at 4 if you want to come. I'll go, okay. How can I read it? Hey, going to the beach on Friday night at 4 if you want to come. And they'll go, what? And I go, you're the one that has a beef with that person. You're putting the emotional quality in on symbols when that person was simply sending symbols over to you. And so I always tell people, yes, do I text with my son? Yes. But it's, hey, call you later, gone to the movies, what time's dinner? It's really basic stuff. My son was taught, do not ever, ever ask me how I feel via text. Yeah. Matt, you know what my answer is going to be. I give one answer, 2-word answer. What's it going to be?
It's going to be fine.
I'm
okay.
fine.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
And nobody knows if I'm in a fetal position. Nobody knows if I'm, bawling my eyes out. But if you pick up the phone, the first thing any of us do when we talk to our children or a loved one is we get that hello. We're assessing.
Absolutely.
Where are they? What are they thinking? How are they feeling? Are they up? Are they down? They're doing the same to us.
They are. Absolutely. Absolutely. A word that on text that I think is so misconstrued all the time. Okay. That can come across. I mean, you can misinterpret okay. Like you could say something and I could go, okay. Or I could go, okay.
Well, do you remember my experiment with my guys down at the hospital? I put just on the whiteboard, have a great day. There were 9 men in the room, and their only requirement was, no matter what mood they were, is to read have a great day differently than the person in front of them. It was read everything from go fly off a bridge to have a great day. And they were like, how can it have 9 meanings? And I said, because it depends on who's reading it, you guys.
Reading it, the inflection in your voice, the emotion that you put out, and you don't get that through text. And I've seen more arguments, more people fight, more things go south because you're not talking to that somebody.
Right.
Talk to somebody. You and I say it all the time. Talk to somebody. It's not the same, it's not the same if you text or if you pick up the phone.
Right.
Yeah. You have to talk.
When we de-escalate situations, we don't de-escalate by text, right? We de-escalate by talking to the individual.
Well, and according to this, right, the one of the things that they said in this little study is that things amplified up on the text message. They got more vile, they got meaner at each other, they got ruder with one another. But on the phone and hearing your mom's voice, even if it's a no, you have to come home, was still at such much of a level lower because of that oxytocin level that it was just,
Oh yeah.
more dealable.
Think about that. Just what you just said. You have to come home. If you get a text that says, you need to come home, like you could read that going, oh shit, it's about to be on. We saw Doc before this one. When about to talk
Yeah.
to his daughter, I mean, I'm just kidding. But the
Hot.
point, I know. But the point is you need to come home, or a phone call that says, hey, you need to come home. Why? Well, we're going to go out to dinner, or we're going to you get the follow on. But if you just get, you need to come home, and you're like, oh crap, it's
Oh,
about
what
to
I
be on.
do?
What'd I do?
You
I
already
wish
offensive. You
I
already.
wish we had more time for this topic
I know.
because we could go deep, deep, deep.
Oh, very.
Well,
And
we're gonna do a
not
whole
enough.
call on it. And in
Yeah, not
fact,
time.
there's I want to bring on Amy Kraus. I think I sent something. I may have sent something to you about this or not, but she was just on. She checked in. She was on a flight earlier. She's going to take off from speaking. She goes out and speaks at schools, middle schools, elementary schools all across the country. And her mom was keeping her kids a couple weeks ago. She goes and she gets in an Uber. The Uber takes her to the hotel. She gets out the car. The Uber goes away. Guess what the Uber has in it? Her phone.
Oh
First day of the
no.
trip. First day of the trip. And so she didn't have a phone. And they're like, well, just get in touch with Uber. Well, how do you get in touch with
What?
Uber with no phone? Because the app's, the app's on your phone. So she went the rest of the trip with no phone. And she actually was in a panic mode because she came on a Zoom call. She had her computer. She was in very much of a panic mode. And now she talks about how it actually ended up being a good trip. Ended
Yeah.
up being okay. Her kids needed it. Mom needed it. She needed it. But we need to have her on to talk about it because
Yeah.
she wants to talk about it. And I think that's a great thing. So
I'm going to come back and bring this back. I don't know if Michael's still on here, but for anybody still listening and those of you that are out there, it's been a privilege to talk about the Cortina Method and how much and valuable I have found it since I was there with Michael and studying it. And I think this is just the very beginning. I think it's going to take the world by storm, and it's going to help people, as Michael always says, to optimize your brain, to optimize your life. And he's made a true practitioner out of me with very different changing way of looking at trauma. Again, whoever uses the word fun, gentle, and uplifting with trauma. And so we've put the Michael Cortina website back up. Please go listen to some of those testimonials, get more information, whether it's in the wellness world, whether it's in the vet world. This thing is going to be so explosive, and we just have to keep talking about it. And I thank you very much for letting me come on and doing that.
always, Patty, thank you so much for coming on. Doc, you got anything to say?
Uh-oh.
No.
No.
I like pie. I'm hungry. I need to go beat my daughter, figuratively, of course. Yeah, no, Patty, thank you so much. As always, I don't talk a lot when you come on because I'm fascinated by what you're saying. And if I'm running my mouth, I can't take in what you're putting out.
Thank you, Doc.
That is. No, Patty, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure. That's why we're going to make this a regular thing. Let's bring Michael on. Let's bring other topics up. It's just great every time. You and I have been at this a lot. We've done a lot of calls together. We've done a lot of talking. It's so important, that we just keep putting these important things out there. Up in the other upper corner, we have the donate button. Please make sure to hit that. Donate to Doc. He does this out of the kindness of his heart, but he does have some expenses, and so he takes donations because that's just the way we do it here. And we really appreciate you too, Doc. But thank you so much, Patty. We'll come back next week. We'll do it again. Next week we have a paramedic and a bikers together that are working in this field, trauma and all the
So
different
guess what? We need to introduce them to the Cortina Method because they can use it.
Exactly. A lot of that. So I love it. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everybody. See you next week.